All right. Welcome in. It is, I don't know what week it is, honestly. I fake numbers on our show sheet. It may not even be accurate anymore. Welcome into the Merrifield Sportsbook Show. It's a Thursday. Everything's been thrown off with us recording today. We are missing one of the last standing people that have been on every show so far, and that is Justin Walsh. He's not here today. We'll be here next week for a jam-packed show that I already know we are starting to plan. Jay DeCoster is here, though, and still without a camera, Matt Merrifield. Matt, we can't see you, but how are you doing? It's been a while since we've seen you. And You've also missed out on the Lions losing to the Commanders.
Yes, it has been 2 weeks, unfortunately, but I'm glad to be back. I made it safely back from the Mecca and Stores South. That is Madison Square Garden for Michigan State Rutgers. Madison Square Garden, great place. Can only imagine what it's like when you have St. John Red Storm fans and Marquette fans and Xavier fans with UConn fans all in one place. I'm sure it's an electric atmosphere, but there was plenty of Rick Pitino propaganda posted up in the block that takes up Madison Square Garden. I forget what the street corners are, what block it's actually on. But
32nd and something else.
That sounds right. I think we stayed in a hotel on 28th Street, I think. I don't know. But anyways, a great place. Glad to be back. And excited that we get to finally talk some college hoops on the show. Been very opinionated on college basketball this year, and there's a lot of frauds that I will eventually start getting upset about over the course of the next couple of weeks, I'm sure.
I'm disappointed you didn't get a picture with Raftery. I wanted that.
It'll happen.
Yeah, that was a whole saga on Saturday. Speaking of Saturday, Matt, I have to ask an important question. I waited until the show to ask this. Friend of the program, Allie Cohen. We were talking before the game on Saturday, and the media meals at Madison Square Garden. They were wild. I believe Allie ended up with the lobster roll. Matt, what did you end up with your media meal?
Well, so the way it was officially set up is they gave us a ticket. I don't know why I'm holding my hands up as an example because you cannot see me right now, but they gave the tickets that actually looked like a box office ticket for a game, and it was $25 to the concession stand. And at a barcode on it, you scanned it. It was a gift card, so you could go as many times as you wanted. Like when we went to Atlanta for the Champions Classic, you could only use it at one stand. So you used to if you only got something that was $10, that's all you got. But this one was nice where you could use it over and over. I mean, it's $25 at a concession stand in New York. It's only going to get you so much. But I decided to go across the concourse from the lobster roll stand. I got myself a nice New York slice of, I believe it was like the white pizza, which was very good. It was like $10, I think it was. That and a Pepsi was like $16, $17, not too shabby. Very sizable, very good pizza, got to be honest. And then Allie Cohen, friend of the program, then proceeded to ask me because she couldn't get a water because her lobster roll was exactly $25. And then, so I got a water, went back, got a water for her. And then she realized that with tax, the lobster roll was over $25. So she needed the rest of my media ticket to scan it. So she get the $26.70, whatever it was. So most of my media slip, about 25% of my media slip was used towards Allie Cohen's cause, but you do what you got to do. But my pizza, very good. There were a lot of great options available. I mean, Allie's here somewhere in the background. She could talk more about her lobster roll if she felt so inclined. So
incredible. Jay, we have talked to you, but we have not officially introduced you. Jay, how is it going in Chicago on this Thursday evening?
Hey, I mean, grind away in the corporate world and, watching some great college basketball. There's nothing better. Just got back from the gym. What else can you ask for on a Thursday night?
Yeah.
Sounds like a great life I'm living right now.
Jay, can I ask, what are the vibes like around the downtown area of Chicago following the cover against UConn last night? Initial thoughts, comments, concerns.
I mean, the DePaul students are just so happy that they were able to not get blown up by UConn. I mean, the DePaul bars around here we're just popping. I mean, what an atmosphere, right? I mean, because DePaul's not bad anymore. Well, they're bad, but when you don't get blown up by UConn, you're making good progress. So, just go Mods, right?
Hey, it's always been SCO-Mons. Last night, honestly, could have been a very funny night. There were points in that game where I was ready to call it and say this is just going to be funny. And then the second half happened, and
It's too
UConn
early to
doesn't.
call.
Well, I mean, yeah, but UConn doesn't cover, which is a problem for some of us on this show. But they still got the win and didn't get a very embarrassing. Would DePaul be a quad 4 loss? I think technically.
Yes.
On the road, I feel like it would have to be a quad 3. There's no way a Big East team is that bad.
Well, I mean, you can get bad and you're a quad 4.
Well, I had explained to Mike Merrifield from the program today that USC on Saturday is a quad 1 game for Michigan State still, by definition.
What are they rated in KenPom?
74. They're 74th in the net. So that
They're
right.
a feisty team. They beat Illinois at Illinois. I mean, I know Maryland did the same thing, but I know Illinois is not amazing. I mean, they're a solid team, but USC is a feisty team. So
I would must was 40 minutes of hell.
Yeah, exactly.
We will.
Forgot he was there.
I also kind of forget that the Must Bus is in USC. We will get to it later, though. Let's get into the college hoops, though. We got very interesting slate of games this weekend. We'll start off with the SEC. Florida is headed to Tennessee. That should be an absolutely outstanding game this weekend. I'm not going to say it's a big game in the SEC because Arkansas is just absolutely awful. But John Calipari going back to Rupp Arena as Arkansas takes on Kentucky. Jay, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on either just these two games or the SEC in a whole this weekend?
I mean, the SEC is just. I mean, these schools are just like. I mean, they run the gauntlet every single game. I mean, they're just going to cannibalize itself. And well, I'll start with Kentucky, Arkansas. I mean, what an atmosphere that's going to be. I mean, Kentucky's horrible, or not Kentucky. Arkansas is horrible. I think they're like 1-7 in the league, I believe. And you're going in that environment. I mean, Kentucky's going to blow the doors off of Calipari. And like, I honestly cannot wait to see that because I think Kentucky's is very good. And you know, you go into Knoxville and beat them again. Which was pretty impressive. So that's going to be fun to watch. And then Tennessee, Florida. This is a bounce back for Tennessee. And that was a great game against Auburn last weekend. It's just Auburn's just too good. I mean, Johnny Broome coming off that injury was able to put up like 18, 7 assists, I think 8 boards, I believe it was. I think Tennessee will bounce back here, and especially coming off that loss against Kentucky. They'll be able to bounce back. I mean, Florida's really good, but I need to see a little bit more from them. It's just in terms of just wins. So I'll take Tennessee at home.
Matt, we'll go to you next with the SEC. Another somewhat, I'd say, big game in the conference this weekend is Missouri at Mississippi State. I mean, those are two top 30 KenPom teams at the moment. I feel like not a ton is being talked about either of them, but both of them are having quite good seasons, which is just showing kind of how stacked the SEC is this year.
Well, yeah, I was watching the Alabama-Mississippi State game last night, and they showed, and I think right now 12 SEC teams are projected into the field of the 16. Now, I don't think Texas will end up being a tournament team because we have a month left of them to cannibalize themselves, and one or even two of those teams will end up slipping out. But Mississippi State, I think, looked really good yesterday, going toe-to-toe with Alabama. They've been a little rocky, but they've been close with a lot of teams. And then Missouri, I really have been impressed with this year. Flying under the radar, they're finally ranked, but they played Illinois tough. They had the one blowout, quote unquote, to Auburn. They played Memphis tough. At Mississippi State, I'd probably lean Bulldogs. I don't know exactly what the spread is on that game off the top of my head. Let's see. Or KenPom says has Mississippi State winning by 6. I don't know if I'd feel confident enough to say Mississippi State covers that number because I think both are really strong and really similar teams. But back to the Kentucky game, KenPom has the spread at 11. I take Arkansas on the road. I don't understand that number. I understand Arkansas hasn't been very good statistically, but they still have a lot of good players. They're kind of like St. John's was last year, where they kind of threw a team together late and a lot of talent, but just kind of doesn't mesh. But on the road, I think they're going to score a lot of points. I take the over in that game more so. I think there could be 190 points scored between the two teams because that's what happens. It seems like every other week or every other night in the SEC. But yeah, overall, I'm excited. The SEC has been a lot of fun. I don't know what they're going to do in March, but at the very least, they provide some awesome basketball, and them in the Big Ten have really kept my weekdays pretty entertained.
Before we move on from the SEC, we got to go back to that Kentucky Arkansas game. Did either of you see the video that Rick Pitino put out today?
Mm-mm.
I know it exists, but I didn't actually listen to it. Like I just saw his ghoulish face speaking.
Yeah, so basically, he was talking for a good 2 minutes about how Kentucky fans shouldn't boo Calipari this weekend, and how hurt he was when he got booed when he went back with Louisville. I don't know. It was just a weird video. It's weird when a coach of another Power 5 institution is talking about a school that's not even in that conference. But I mean, I get the parallels. It's just kind of odd. Rick, though, I mean, we'll get to him in a few when we talk Big East hoops. I mean, doing really well this year with St. John's, but the SEC, it's a gauntlet this year. I'm excited for this weekend. I think this is a big weekend for the conference. A lot of good games all around. I agree with you, Matt. I know you mentioned it. It kind of does feel like the projection right now is that 12-13 number for teams in the tournament. I'd be surprised if they end up with that many. It probably ends up being 10 because it's going to end up self-cannibalizing, and you're going to end up with two teams probably on the outside looking in. I don't know if the SEC is technically part of the college basketball crown, but I mean, those teams could technically be looking at bids there for the most prestigious tournament in all of college basketball, because only one tournament gives you a crown at the end. So what can we say? Can't wait to see the DePaul Blue Demons in there, though. Speaking of DePaul, let's just get into the Big East talk. It's an interesting weekend. Creighton is traveling to Villanova. I know Providence is playing St. John's. I believe Marquette is playing UConn on Saturday. That is National Marquette Day, if I'm not mistaken. Matt, we'll go to you first. Kind of your thoughts on the Big East this weekend.
Well, UConn is a certified bubble team. They're not good right now. It's kind of tough to watch. I mean, they're kind of back to what they were before their two title seasons, which is they are still talented offensively, and the defense leaves a lot to be desired. And I know early in the year that was kind of talked about because they don't have Sonogo or a Klingon down low as that kind of interior presence on defense. I think I will not bet that game because I refuse to put money on Shaka Smart because he is a fraud, and he has been, and he will be. I like St. John's a lot at home. Mecca against Providence. Providence at home, great team. Providence away from home, not a very good team. Sorry, Kim English. And then obviously you have Seton Hall, DePaul on Sunday. I might actually take DePaul. I don't know if they'll be favored. Let me see what Mr. Ken Pomeroy has for that game. But I mean, overall, I mean, the Big East has been okay this year. I guess. Still not sure. I think Xavier sucks. I think they're terrible. They're just along with all the other bubble teams. As I look at Joe Lunardi's 16 teams he has on the bubble, and they're all terrible. Like this is just awful. Like Dayton still actually has a decent shot of making the tournament after what they've done the last 3 weeks is horrific, and it's domestic terrorism. The fact that Indiana is one of the first teams out, pathetic. The fact that Ohio State would be in the tournament, the fact that Ohio State's top 30 in the net and Ken Pom blows my mind. But basketball analytics, I don't think reflect the sport, unfortunately, this season. But besides the point, Big East, big fan. Can't wait for the Big East tournament in a month.
Matt, I don't know if you've seen the number on Ken Palm, but DePaul 5-point favorite on Sunday.
5?
Yes.
When was the last time they were 5-point favorites in a conference game?
Couldn't tell you.
Wow.
It's
All
also
right.
their last projected win of the season, according to Ken Palm.
Well, Ken Palm can eat my shorts. So,
Jay, we'll go to you next. Obviously, your DePaul connections to this great conference, and also your Marquette connections because of your brother. So, your thoughts on this weekend, this National Marquette Day weekend?
I don't know. I don't even know what the line is on Mr. Ken Pomeroy for this game. I would think it would be Marquette like minus 5.5, 4.5 or something like that. I'd probably stay away as well just because I don't know what Marquette team I'm going to get. Like, they did not look good against Butler last night. Of course, Butler is horrible and they just, pissed it down their leg last night. But, I mean, they lost to Xavier at home, who also I don't think is very good either. But I think, UConn doesn't look very good, so I expect Marquette to win this game pretty handily, but who knows? In terms of the other games, Creighton Villanova, this is a pretty desperate spot for both of these teams. I'd probably lean Creighton in the spot just because they're kind of on the bubble right now. They need to get this win. St. John's, we're for the Big East tournament. I cannot wait to see Marquette and St. John's or UConn versus St. John's in the Big East Championship. Rick Pitino at Stores South is going to be amazing. I cannot wait. And then in terms of DePaul, you can get in for $2 for this game. So if you have any plans on Sunday, you can go to Wintrust Arena for $2 to watch Seton Hall and DePaul. And I'll take DePaul. Why not? Because Seton Hall is horrible, and their downfall needs to be studied. They're 6-15. I can't believe that. So those are my takes on the Big East.
Jay, what if I told you Ken Palm has Marquette as an 8-point favorite?
Yeah, I'd stay away then. That's way too big because I could definitely see UConn keeping this close, but they also don't look good, and I could see Marquette just running them out of the gym. That is a stay away play, hard pass. So
yeah, I don't think there could be any words other than this season's been a disaster for UConn. It just has been. They probably do lose this game. Honestly, my biggest hope right now for UConn is don't be the 4th seed in the Big East tournament, because then you are playing St. John's in the semis. I would rather them be the 3. They're probably not getting the 2 because it's probably going to be Marquette, which, again, that's not an easy game in the semis, but I would much rather have St. John's waiting in the final than I would facing them in the semis, because this St. John's team looks very good right now. Their 3 losses have come at a combined 5 points, I believe, something along those lines. I only have heard the stat 15 times on Big East broadcast this week, and I still don't remember what it exactly is, but it's somewhere right around that 5-point mark. This team is very dangerous. I know me and Matt kind of jokingly talked about St. John's maybe making a run to San Antonio this year. Who knows? Anything's possible at this point, because this year in college basketball, there is no true heavy favorite. There are your teams that you are expecting to get there, but it also feels the most wide open that it's felt in the past few years. This is a very interesting year for the Big East, for college basketball in general.
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off, but really, the more I look at it, I really do think why I mentioned it being the 2019 year all over again. I really, honestly, because I think when you look at Ken Palm, I think the top 12 teams in the country. Well, I don't think Ken Palm actually reflects. I think the AP poll actually does a better job of telling you who the best 15 teams are in the country. I can't believe I'm saying that, but here we are. I think the top 12 teams in the country are the top 12. And then after that, it's kind of a crapshoot. Like the fact that Ohio State is 24th in the Ken Palm at 13-8 is stupid. It's absolutely. I refuse to acknowledge Ken Pom at this moment in time. Anything other than just like the advanced stats that they just have. But I think the top 8 teams, especially the top 10, I think those are the 10 best teams in the country. Then like a St. John's, I think Mississippi State looks strong. So I think this could be a year where, the Sweet 16 is 14, 13 of the top 16 seeds in the tournament, sprinkle in one double-digit seed, and then I don't know, Gonzaga makes it through, even though I think they're better than their seeding says. And I don't think Gonzaga is winning it all anymore. I still think they're a good team that can go on a run. But I'm excited for March. And it's just I'm tired of watching bad basketball teams and being told that they're good. And that's what the bubble is. Ohio State sucks. Pitt sucks. Nebraska is terrible. I know they're playing well against Illinois as we speak. Indiana is actually half decent, I think, sometimes. And then Mike Woodson tries to coach, and then it all goes to shit. UCF, I don't know how they're a tournament team. I digress. Cincinnati, too. There's just a lot of bad basketball teams. But let's shrink the tournament, guys. Let's go to 48 teams this year.
Well, since it's on the sheet, we just spoke of Gonzaga. It's their one of 2 tests, as always, in the West Coast Conference. They travel to St. Mary's this weekend. This Gonzaga team, they're still sitting at 10 in the Ken Pom. Again, I feel like it's not very accurate of how they are right now. I don't think they're a top 10 team. St. Mary's last night, which would have been Wednesday night as we're recording, they went on a 30-0 run against Santa Clara. This St. Mary's team looks kind of sneaky good this year. I feel like we say that every year, and then they lose in the round of 32 to somebody. Jay, your kind of thoughts on this West Coast Conference battle? I believe this will be this will not be the second to last time because they're still in the conference next year. So just disregard that. Just your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, St. Mary's been really good this year. Obviously, like you said, they do get bounced early, but they're still always going to be a threat. Not to go like really far, but they're going to give their team their toughest battles. I probably take St. Mary's in the spot. I feel like they always win a game like this at home against Gonzaga. Late night tip. I feel like they just always win a game like this. So I'll go with St. Mary's. Gonzaga's they've been kind of up and down this year. They've had some good wins and then just some very questionable wins. Like they lost to Oregon State, I believe it was like a few weeks ago. They just had some bad losses. They're always going to be solid, but we know the drill. Do not pick them in March. I'm good. So I'll take St. Mary's in this game.
Yeah, Matt, Gonzaga, 2 straight losses against Oregon State and Santa Clara.
Yeah.
But this team is still top 10 in Ken Pom. I really don't understand it, but kind of your thoughts on this game this weekend.
Well, I think, maybe it's not a 2019 season. Maybe we're looking at a 2014 year where we have some incredibly underseeded basketball teams like the UConn Huskies and the Kentucky Wildcats. We had a 7-8 national championship game. Because Gonzaga right now is currently slotted to be like an 8 seed in the tournament, which if I'm a 1 seed and my reward is playing Gonzaga in the second round, I'd rather just shoot myself in the face because that's not a game I want to play. Just like Michigan State being slotted with Houston in the second game, or I guess in the Sweet 16 as the 2-3 game. No, thank you. I want no part of that. Houston is one of the best 4 teams in the country. But Gonzaga, they're an interesting team. I still believe they have the talent. They don't play. I don't know. They kind of laid an egg, obviously losing that game to West Virginia. It turns out West Virginia is a pretty good team. They lost at the Garden to UConn. Nobody wins in or South. They lost close to Kentucky. UCLA is starting to figure it back out, and then obviously they had the 2 duds. I think people are panicking more than they need to. Like they're not. Maybe this. I don't know. I'm not over panicking. Still think they have everything in front of them, and they're going to roll their way. I think they beat St. Mary's because St. Mary's. I know as good as they are defensively when they decide to not let teams score. I still think Gonzaga just has the better talent. but I am not ready to push the panic button on my preseason national champions. Also, breaking news, Nick, the Flint Firebirds are up 5-1 in Windsor currently. Sam McHugh, trade deadline acquisition, has scored a hat trick.
Incredible. For the people that don't know, it seems like the Firebirds have just struggled against Windsor, the Spitfires, all year. I'd go on Twitter and it would be puck drop, and then 5 tweets later, it's 5-0 Windsor. So for them to be up 5-1 right now in Windsor, that's just huge. The Memorial Cup train is back on the rails. I believe, Matt, you can confirm that because the Firebirds are going to Rimouski.
They 100%. They won as the Tropics on Saturday, so a win tonight would make it 2 in a row. They got Kingston on Saturday as well. If they can go out and win 3 in a row like that, hell, 4 in a row if they're able to beat Kitchener tomorrow. You know, the train is rolling. The Firebirds are starting to get hot right at the right time. They're starting to peak. Still 20 games left in the regular season. They're right where they want to be as a strong 5 seed heading into the OHL playoffs.
I truly cannot wait to see the run for the Wayne Gretzky Cup or whatever they call it. I know it's Wayne Gretzky something for the OHL trophy, but it's going to be exciting to see what the Firebirds do. Let's get back into college hoops. Let's go to the Big 12, another very deep conference. They've got some big games this weekend. One of them being a team that we mentioned just previously. It's Houston. They're hosting Texas Tech. Me and Matt had a conversation about this today. So, Matt, I'll just start with you. Is Texas Tech good? Because I don't think we know the answer, truly.
Well, the answer to that question is how good is Texas Tech, which I corrected myself when I asked you if Texas Tech was any good earlier today, because they are, I think, a good basketball team, especially when they play at home. That home court advantage is second to none. I think if Ken Palm's good for one thing, I believe Texas Tech is like second in their home court advantage. Yes, they are. Their home court's worth like 4.5 points on Ken Palm. But can they win away from home? The answer to that question, I don't know, because they lost to St. Joe's on a neutral floor. They lost to Texas A&M on a neutral floor. They only beat DePaul by 14 at home. They haven't played on the road against anybody tough. Kansas State, Cincinnati, and BYU and Utah have been their away games. They obviously have a test at Houston, and I don't know if they're ready for that. The Houston just blitzes the hell out of you, and they just come at you 120%, and I don't know if they're ready for that. I like Texas Tech, but I don't think I don't know. I would go Houston here. I know the spread is 9, but Houston at home has been an absolute wagon, and that seems like to be the trend in the Big 12 this year is just take the home team unless you're Kansas in the final 16 seconds. So.
Yeah, that was a disaster on Saturday. The end of the Kansas-Houston game. Jay, speaking of Kansas, they traveled to Waco this weekend to take on Baylor. That's another big game in the Big 12. You have the Territorial Cup between Arizona and Arizona State. That is a 1 p.m. Eastern tip, which I believe makes it a 11 a.m. tip in Arizona. That's something. Great job, CBS. And then, obviously, this Texas Tech Houston game. Kind of your thoughts on the Big 12 this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Arizona, I mean, this is a big rivalry, but Arizona's really good. I know they got, Caleb Love that half
Caleb Love.
I said Caleb Williams.
Both of them, actually. Noted Minnesota Golden Gopher, Caleb Williams, and Ben Johnson. Continue, Jack.
Yes. No, Caleb Love, I'm with you. That guy he just throws up bricks and he just makes that. But I think Arizona's a very good basketball team. I think they're starting to find their stride now. I mean, they had a really tough start, but they're 7-1. I think they're 8-1 in the Big 12 now. Obviously that win against Iowa State was very good for their resume. They're probably going to be around a 5 or 6 seed or a 7 seed in the tournament. I'm really scared if MSU does have to face them in the second round. That's going to be very scary. I do not want any part of that. As far as the other games go, I'm out in Kansas. I'm so out on them. That choke job was so bad, and I don't like having Hunter Dickinson in the front court. He's a solid player, but that's just not going to win you a national title. And as well as their other roster, Like they're going to go to Baylor this weekend. Baylor's kind of underwhelming, but Baylor needs this win bad. Baylor will get this win at home. So I like Baylor in that spot. And then I agree. Houston's just so good. I mean, Juwan Roberts, absolute beast. He dropped like 24 on Saturday. I'll take them at home. Texas Tech, I think, is obviously a very solid team, but can they win on the road? We don't know yet. They're not going to win at Houston. Houston's a top 3 team in the country. I can firmly believe that. So I will take Houston. As far as the other games go, I mean, you got the underachieving Kansas State Wildcats are going to get blitzed at Hilton Coliseum. Shout out Coleman Hawkins and Doug McDaniel, who've been great transfers. Great job, guys. So there you go.
Yeah, and then you do have Utah at Oklahoma State this weekend. That's just a disaster of a game waiting to happen, it feels like. Big 12 is there's a lot of interest. Whenever there is a Big 12 game, it feels like it's very interesting because it's going to have implications somewhere down the line. It feels like that's how close the conference is. I believe on Sunday it's West Virginia at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's not, I don't think they're good. This season has very much come crashing down very fast. We should have known that this was coming when they lost to Villanova, like when Villanova was not good. I mean, they're still not good, but they're kind of making their way back. But this season, since they started Big 12 play, is become an absolute disaster for Cincinnati. They lost last night at Utah. They fall to 2-7 in the conference. And then going up against this West Virginia team that, they are sneaky good. First year head coach Darren DeVries came over from Drake. He's done very well. I know they're on a 3-game losing streak. You can do 4 out of the last 5 too. But this team, I think this West Virginia team still has a chance to be very good come the end of the year if they can turn it on at the right time. Big 12, just a very interesting conference, to say the least. We'll move on to the Big 10. I don't know if it's truly the biggest game of the weekend, but it is Michigan State traveling to USC to take on the Must Bus, which I forgot is parked in Los Angeles right now, but here we are. Jay, Michigan State gets the win at Madison Square Garden, something we rarely see happen. And then they get I would say they played about a B, maybe C game against Minnesota, but still got a double-digit victory.
Yeah, they look overall. You win by I think it was 15-20. That's always going to be nice, but they did kind of coast in the second half there. They did not look very good at all. Their offense was stagnant, but that's going to happen. So this Michigan State team is very good. It's them and Purdue in the Big Ten. All the rest of the teams can kick rocks. I'm not really a believer in Oregon, Michigan, all those teams. Maryland's actually coming out at the right time right now. Got a big win last night. They're kind of scary coming down here, but as far as
Maryland stinks too.
Hey,
continue, Jay. Sorry,
they do not stink, but
yes, they do.
As far as this MSU game goes, I do think they'll drop one of these games in LA. I don't think it's the USC game, even though USC is very feisty. You got that win over Illinois. I know Illinois has been kind of struggling recently, and they're down 40-31 at the half as we speak to a garbage Nebraska team. So, you take that win how you see it. But I think MSU will find a way to pull it off this weekend at USC. They're a solid team, but MSU's got to find a way to not drop 2 of these games because I think they will lose at UCLA. UCLA is coming out at the right time right here. Hate to say that because I hate Mick Cronin. That guy's biggest noxious coach in the Big Ten. So I'll take MSU over USC and then drop to UCLA, but one game at a time. So.
Matt, Impact not making the trip out to LA this week, but it feels like it is a massive road trip for Michigan State to truly kind of see what kind of basketball team they are playing against two very different styles of basketball.
Yeah, I got to be honest, as a Spartan fan, I don't care. I mean, yes, I want to win on Saturday. Do not lose at Pauley Pavilion on Tuesday. There are demons from Mackey Arena in 2020 or 2021, I should say, that need to be exercised. That game lives in my head forever, even though that Michigan State team was god awful and should not have been in the tournament in the first place. Shout out Aaron Henry. But I can't stand Mick Cronin and his father that they kept showing on the TV. But the Michigan State, yes, I understand. They have the worst strength of schedule in terms of the conference so far. But they've won every game other than 3, 4. I think 3 games have been decided by 10 or less, including obviously a hard-fought Illinois game, but they haven't been playing their best basketball on the offensive end. And defense is an every night thing. I think their defense, as long as they show up and play hard, which that's the one thing this team has done, I think, of their 20 games, they've done 19 times this season. So there's still another level they can get to, which makes me excited about this team because they're not shooting the basketball well, and yet they're still winning games. They put up 70-plus points in 6 straight games. And they haven't shot the 3 particularly well, which a Michigan State team prior to this year would not be able to do, and since Cassius Winston. So I still am very confident in this team. USC, I think, is an interesting team. They're, like you said, they're a different style, and Michigan State really doesn't have much experience playing. Like, they didn't play Alabama much. I think they put them once at the PK 80 a couple 2 years ago, whatever it was. I don't remember them ever playing Muss with Arkansas. So I'm not really sure how they're going to handle kind of that fast pace. Obviously, State likes to get out in transition, but otherwise they're a slow team. And then UCLA will be a fun game to watch. But I think State's playing really well right now. But for the Big Ten as a whole, the slate kind of stinks this weekend. It's all terrible matchups. Washington, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Northwestern. Michigan's playing Rutgers at the RAC. Kind of hoping Ace Bailey has yet another 35-point performance, but then again, after what he did yesterday, he's probably due to go 2 for 15. So we'll have to wait and see. But I honestly, I think State can go 2-0 on this trip, or I think they're more likely to lose that first game than the second game, because I think they'll be acclimated to getting out west on this game for the second game, more so for the first game. But we'll have to wait and see what the travel does to Michigan State. We've seen other teams go 2-0 on the West Coast, so I'm not as worried as I was before the year started.
Yeah, I know both me and Jay are in agreement that selfishly we'd like MSU to go 1-1 on this trip. That way Tom Izzo can break the Big Ten wins record against Oregon, a game we will both be in attendance for. I kind of agree with you, Matt, that it does a little bit feel like if they are to lose a game this weekend, it would be the USC game than the UCLA game. But UCLA is turning into form right now. That is going to be a very tough game on, I believe it's Tuesday night, finishing out the Peacock triple header for Michigan State, 3 straight games on Peacock, which is what it is. They couldn't figure out how to get a score bug working on Tuesday night against Minnesota. That was really fun. But hey, yeah, Matt.
Oh, I was just going to point out, just for UCLA, something I noticed is that obviously they had that 4-game losing streak where, Mick Cronin seemed like he was just trying to get himself fired. And he talked about the toughness of the Big Ten teams. Of their last 4 wins that they've gone on, they have the last 2 against USC and Washington, the former Pac-12 foes. And then they also won at home against an Iowa team that is soft as baby shit. And that's just how they play. I guess Iowa's the closest thing to USC in terms of just fast-paced, free flow, chucking up shots. But then again, Iowa just does not play any sort of defense and doesn't rebound. So I think that's part of the reason why UCLA was able to win that game. So that's just, for me, maybe the one advantage for State of maybe State is the toughness that they have. I don't know if UCLA is ready for it, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it does feel like Michigan State's due for a loss, and it feels like it's most likely going to come on this 2-game road trip. It does feel like it could really be either of these games. I don't see a scenario where they go 0 for 2. Now that I say that, they are going to, but it doesn't feel like that's really in the cards for this happening. I mean, this Michigan State team has been very consistent. I think they at least split on this road trip, but it should be a interesting week to say the least for the Spartans before they head back home to take on Oregon next Saturday in Tony Stubblefield's return to the Midwest. I know me and Jay truly cannot wait to see that man, Tony Stubblefield. A true just killer of DePaul basketball. He took the joy out of the Blue Demons. I know he's a hated man in Chicago, correct, Jay?
Yeah, and when you sent me that tweet last night when he said students,
Students.
Why? Okay, first of all, what game was that? Like a big game? Because there was no big game in that era, and there was no way DePaul students are coming out to watch you coach and watch your team.
I honestly don't even know when that would have originally been from. Like that had to have been like when they were playing UConn or somebody like that. Or maybe it was like the season opener went before they lost to like Northern Illinois or whoever it was last year.
That guy stinks. Also, the UCLA game, is that a 10 o'clock Eastern tip?
I believe it's 10:30.
Oh God, that is gross. That's gonna be if MSU loses that. I agree, Matt. If MSU loses that game against Mick Cronin and Paulie Pavilion, that's gonna be brutal. That's gonna be just awful.
I also just think it's incredibly un-American if Tom Izzo breaks the all-time wins record as a Big Ten head coach at 10. It'll be what, 12:30, 1 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah. At UCLA
on a streaming service against UCLA. That's not what America was built on. That's communism.
That's one way to put it, Matt. Theoretically, if they do go 0-2 on this road trip and then they beat Oregon, the team Tom Izzo would be breaking the record against is Indiana, which, I mean, that's kind of fitting, given that he would be passing Bobby Knight. But I personally don't think it gets that far. But yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, are there any other college hoops games that either of you are kind of looking forward to this weekend or kind of taking a more in-depth look at?
You can take a look. I mean, Missouri, Mississippi. I mean, I think we already touched on Missouri, Mississippi State. I mean, Missouri's really underrated, and Mississippi State's really good. They gave Alabama a fight last night. I'm kind of excited to watch that Saturday at noon Central. I think that'll be a very enticing. It's going to be a big test also for Auburn to go to Ole Miss. Chris Beard's team this year has been very, very good. I mean, they're going to be a tournament team. It's going to be interesting to see how they fare out there down in Oxford. Those are a couple games I'm kind of excited for. And honestly, in the Big Ten, I mean, Wisconsin, Northwestern. I mean, Northwestern's, they're not great. They're 12-9, but Ken Pom has them rated 30. This is, I think, according to Torvik, I think Wisconsin says Wisconsin's like a 1.5 point favorite, I believe. So that's going to be a little enticing to see if Wisconsin can continue or can bounce back after the loss against Maryland, because that's a tough 2-game road stretch that they've had. So those are just kind of some games to watch.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you've been paying attention, but Doug Gottlieb and the Green Bay Phoenix lost tonight on Thursday to a interim Horizon League coach because Greg Campy was suspended for a game for yelling at the refs, and that ref ended up getting fired. So that's fun. But speaking of the Phoenix, Callahan Hall on Saturday, they take on Detroit Mercy. Will Doug Gottlieb get a win in Horizon League play? Probably not, but they're going to try, I guess. Matt, your kind of thoughts on the weekend?
I think my game to watch, other than the ones we talked about, obviously, I think Tennessee, Kentucky is the game at noon. I like the Auburn Ole Miss game a lot, just from the standpoint of it's the best player in the country in Janai Broom, and Ole Miss is that team that's good, but do we know quite how good they are? I think we're going to find out. And then we haven't talked about it partly because the ACC is god awful, but UNC Duke is on Saturday night, and I know that one's the one at Cameron Indoor. I still think it's going to be a close game. It always is. So I think that one might be my game to watch. You have to watch UNC Duke, and there's not really a lot of other better options. So just thought we had to give credit where credit is due because it's the best.
What's the line for Ken Palm in that game?
Oh,
I'm gonna guess like a 9.5, 10, because North Carolina is awful.
It is Duke's favored by 15. 15.
Yeah,
give me UNC.
Yeah. And Hubert Davis we have to talk about his job security, because missing the tournament 2 times in North Carolina is unacceptable. I know he went to a 100%. National championship in his first year, and they went. I think did they go to the Elite Eight or Sweet 16? I can't remember last year.
I
know they went to the Sweet 16, but did they win the next game?
I don't think they did.
It's whatever, and it doesn't really matter. But Hubert Davis, like, missing the tournament twice in North Carolina that's disgusting.
Hey, it technically could be worse. You could be another team currently in the ACC that traveled all the way to Palo Alto yesterday to get absolutely throttled. I know they kind of came back in the end, but you're currently sitting at 9-12. And of course, that team is the team that just resides in hell every day.
Or you could be
I don't know what's happening right now, but that is the sound of Syracuse basketball right there, crashing and burning.
Somebody is touching the air fryer as I unmuted my microphone. I apologize, but yes, that is a representative of Syracuse basketball. I was about to mention your team could also be your head coach could be getting hate texts from random numbers midway through a game. Shout out Micah Schnozberry and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, future Spartan. I love Notre Dame basketball. I'll probably bet on. They played Syracuse. No, they don't play Syracuse. Who do they play this weekend? They play Miami. They play Miami on the road. Give me Notre Dame this weekend.
Miami.
Great.
Give me Notre Dame and whoever Virginia is playing. Box of the week.
God. Virginia has Virginia Tech on Saturday at home.
Virginia Tech. Let me see what the spread is.
Is this the worst ACC we've seen in like forever?
Yes. It is so bad at the bottom.
Bad. It just keeps getting worse every year. So,
well, yeah, that's what happens when you accept all these dumb teams in it, like Syracuse.
Virginia Tech is getting 5 on Saturday.
Yes.
Hey, Louisville basketball's back. You can watch them on against Georgia Tech on the CW. I think probably Mr. Castellanos. There's drive deep off. What's his name? Tom Brenneman. He'll be on the call. I call him Mr. Castellanos now because he'll be on the call because I remember him calling a game last week. So there you go. You can listen to him.
Oh, fun fact! It gets even better for our good friends in New York. They're at Haas Pavilion on Saturday, 10 p.m. tip-off against Cal. That's just going to be an incredible watch. That's an incredible hate watch to close out the night.
Have we confirmed if Gus Johnson and Bill Raftery are going to be in LA for MSU UCLA gymnastics on Fox at 5:00 on Saturday? Because that is the broadcasting I need.
I don't think we have confirmed that.
I unironically think that would actually be a good broadcast.
It would honestly probably be very
the correction. Gus Johnson, like 6 years ago, when he actually was good at his job, and he was still one of the best broadcasters. So right now, Gus would probably think it's a Michigan game somehow.
No, don't you know the Ohio State Buckeyes won the national championship in football? He'd bring that up 15 times.
Oh God, it's just so bad.
Yeah. before we close out here, Matt, I told you this last week that we'd get into this. Monday night, Boston, Massachusetts. It's day one of the Bean Pot. God, so excited for the Bean Pot this year. First game is Boston University. The Terriers taking on Harvard. Second game, that's a big game for us, Matt. It's BC and Northeastern. Give us a Bean Pot breakdown.
Oh, dear Lord. The Bean Pot is one of the tournaments of all time. It is the poor man's Great Lakes Invitational, but it is still beautiful because it's played at the proper arena, unlike the Great Lakes Invitational now. Harvard's not very good. That is going to be an absolute rout on Monday night. But Northeastern is better than people realize. They're 23rd in the pairwise, so they're still on the brink of the NCAA tournament. They're a very outside chance, but hey, a couple good performances in the Bean Pot could put them right back into it. Maybe they take Michigan's spot because Michigan should not make the NCAA tournament in hockey this year. And hey, that has nothing to do with my invested interest in the Northeastern Huskies and their futures odds, which I got at plus 1,000. So, and their odds have increased. They're plus 750 now. So I think the value is there if you got in early. Again, for the Huskies, they've won 4 of the last 5 Bean Pots. Their women's team just won it. So I'm in on the Huskies. It's them or BC. I don't think BU's that good this year, and Harvard is god awful. So yes, the BU Terriers.
They do have Bean Pot odds on FanDuel, at least of yesterday. I don't see a lot of hockey games where the line is 2.5. That's what it is for BU and Harvard. Again, it has nothing to do with my invested interest in the Northeastern Huskies at plus 1,000 to win the Bean Pot. But they got to find a way to win. They just have to find a way to win. And that's why the value right now is on the Northeastern money line on Monday night. What can we say? Yeah, excited for the Bean Pot. Matt, Michigan State currently down 3-2 against Ohio State with about 10 minutes left.
We just got a great example on how we do not know what goaltender interference is, and we never will.
I was just going to say that. It was like a 5-minute review, and they just I don't know what we're doing.
I love it because people complain about what a catch is in football, even though I feel like we haven't had an argument about it in like 6 years. Meanwhile, goaltender interference is a nightly occurrence where I don't know the answer. And people ask me, and I played goalie. I still don't know the answer to what goaltender interference is. I don't think I ever will. It is truly life's greatest mystery.
I don't think we're ever going to find it out, and that's probably one of the best things that does happen because once we do find it out, it makes it a lot less interesting. Speaking of the pairwise too, big weekend for the number 4 team in the pairwise. That's the Ice Bus, the UConn Huskies, taking on Providence. I believe that's on Saturday at the XL Center. Just needed to throw that in. The Ice Bus is running. UConn's coming for the tournament finally. I can't wait. MSU, UConn in St. Louis. It's going to be incredible. Or in Toledo, wherever it may happen, it's going to happen. It's going to be incredible. Matt, I'm sure you'll be on the call for it. And yeah. I don't have much else to say about the UConn hockey Huskies. So that is going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the Merrifield Sportsbook Show. Next week, big week. It's Super Bowl week. If you want prop bets, this is going to be the place to be. Me and Matt have done this for, I believe this will be the 3rd year between green and white and now this of just absolutely just finding every prop bet that we can. It's going to be incredible content. Can't wait. Hopefully our good friend Justin Walsh is back next week. It's going to be a fun one, even though the game, we'll get into that next week.
Screw the game. Prop bets only. I'll try and lock down us a guest to bring on, maybe a Zach Slowick or a Allie Cohen or a Trent Bally to come on and join us for some prop bets next one.
I love it.
For the Merrifield. For the
Also, this is the place where if you want your Puppy Bowl odds, this is the place. This is always the place, the Merrifield Sportsbook, exclusive gambling provider of the Puppy Bowl. very much not a real stat or whatever you want to call that, marketing opportunity. But hey, Animal Planet, please call. We are willing to put odds on this as we do every year. So for Jada Coster, for Matt Merrifield, for myself, Nick Burt, thank you so much for watching. If you just stumbled across the Merrifield Sportsbook Show, make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe. Check out the rest of the Nick Burt Sports Network. Who knows? We may be at a White House press briefing one day, given that they're letting podcasts in now. Who knows? It may turn into the Nick Burt News Network. Who knows? Maybe we'll end up with credentials at the Final Four. Who knows? We'll figure it out. Make sure you watch Top of the Perch. Tottenham, big win today. Big win against Elfsborg, 3-0. I'm over the moon. I actually may have cried tears at work today with how that game played out. It was desperate. It was desperately needed. I'm rambling on. Let's close this out. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you again next week for a Super Bowl edition of the Merrifield Sportsbook Show.